All right. What's up, everybody? Oh my goodness. Get you some of that right there. That is Testament's brand new album right there, folks. Came out in October. Just listen to that. Power slam. It doesn't get any better than that, folks. I'll have more on that album as I usually do during the course of the podcast. But first of all, welcome. Happy Saturday night. No better time to get a Metalhead Michael episode in than a Saturday night. Watching the Army-Navy game, football game in the background. In my high-tech studio here, for sure. The first thing I want to do, folks, is grab this microphone right here and apologize. And most definitely for the last horrible sound quality of the last podcast I had. I had no idea until after the fact that it came across really as bad as it was. I was using, or I should say trying to use, a set of headphones for the first time, and long story short, it didn't work. I prefer an over-the-head, wrap-around-the-mouth headphone set, but this particular set that I bought and was trying to use didn't connect at all, and basically I was talking into a microphone built into the laptop, and essentially, as you all could tell, it sucked really bad. So I apologize for that. I won't make that mistake again. So I apologize, like I said, and for that I have switched back to my trusty high-tech studio desktop microphone, which sounds much better. Moving right along, the answer, folks, to the previous trivia question, if you remember way back when, and let me just tell you too, I've been so busy with school, I haven't been on, I know I mentioned this before, but I haven't been on in a while. I got into kind of the weeds of the final quarter of the semester, which included a term paper and final exams. Needless to say, I passed the class. I got an A in it, fortunately, and that's why I haven't been on in a while. So if you remember way back when, the answer to the previous trivia question, which let me remind you, the symbol or the icon or whatever that appears as the backdrop, as the symbol for on the T-shirts and so forth of Pantera, is none other than the letters, in case you didn't or weren't able to make it out. It's CFH, which, as you might know, but may not have realized, stands for Cowboys from Hell, which was the title of Pantera's 1990 breakthrough album, and of course, one of their most famous songs. The CFH logo appears on merchandise, guitars, and other band artwork, especially as a tribute of sorts to Dimebag Darrell. And of course, Vinnie Paul, guitarist and drummer for that band, who are no longer with us. I recently went to the Pantera show in Raleigh and picked me up a CFH shirt. And I encourage you to do the same thing. CFH, which was the logo, stands for Cowboys from Hell, for sure. Stay tuned for this week's new trivia question. More on Pantera trivia coming up with a great trivia question for this Metalhead Michael episode. More of that later on to come. Ace Frehley, moving right along, folks. There's a lot to get to tonight. Ace Frehley, Conservative Magazine National Review, believe it or not, recently gave a shout out to Ace Frehley, who, as we all know, died in October of this year. It was pretty cool of them to recognize Ace and his legacy as an iconic guitarist. The magazine's description included that, quote, Spaceman Ace claimed he was from an alien planet named Jendo, which is actually true. He did stake that claim. It helped him to explain his many personal quirks. He struggled to walk in a straight line, which he did. He had equilibrium issues, laughed in a bird-like cackle, and once claimed to have been punched in the face by a ghost, which I have not fact-checked, but I certainly do believe. Keep in mind and don't forget that the Kennedy Center honors, which have, at this point in time, have already been taped and are ready to roll, are going and have recognized KISS during their 2025 ceremony scheduled to air around Christmas time. I believe, if memory serves me correctly, my phone went off. I don't know what that was. It airs right at Christmas, on Christmas Day. So Gene Simmons has already released the fact that there will be an empty chair for Ace at the ceremonies. There was no pre-video released of that. More on Gene Simmons and Ace Frehley later in the podcast. I'm wondering out loud if Bruce Kulick or Eric Carr will get any recognition, or any of the other members of KISS over the years, for sure. Doubt that will happen. We'll have to wait and watch and see, for sure. Now, the Guardian magazine mentioned Ace Frehley, and this was interesting. Now, you want to get into the weeds about this. The Guardian put out an article that said lead guitarist and founding member of the glam rock band KISS died from, check this out, blunt force injuries to the head that he suffered in a fall earlier this year. That was what an autopsy had determined. The report said that Frehley, who was 74 years old, check this out, suffered facial fractures near the eyes and left ear, and also had bruising on his left abdomen and thigh area, and his right hip and upper thigh. My goodness gracious. TMZ confirmed that Ace died as a result of blunt trauma to the head due to a fall. That was, of course, TMZ. I don't put any kind of necessarily validity into TMZ. But anyways, they backed it up. They backed the Guardian's article up, okay? Ace suffered a fracture to the back of the skull, a subdural hematoma, a collection of blood formed between the brain's protective outer layer and the brain itself. And he had a stroke as well, for Christ's sakes. The manner of death was ruled an accident. Now, my thing is, he was put on life support after a nasty fall in the studio, led to brain bleed. He underwent a procedure to evacuate the subdural hematoma, but to no avail, which basically means they carved into his skull to release some of that swelling and some of that pressure. Now, my question is, what in the hell happened to this guy? What did he fall from? A balcony? I mean, my goodness gracious. Now, that sentiment of sorts was reiterated and supported by Gene Simmons' commentary. Gene Simmons stated, he made some controversial commentary about Ace Frehley and his death. He said that he refused, quote, he refused advice from people that cared about him, including yours truly, to try to change his lifestyle. In and out of bad decisions, falling down the stairs. I'm not a doctor. This is Gene Simmons talking. Falling down the stairs doesn't kill you. There may have been other issues, and it breaks my heart. Saddest thing, you reap what you sow, unfortunately. And this came at about the same time that Simmons traveled to Washington, D.C. and was making his appearance for the Kennedy Honors ceremonies. And I can tell you from when this broke and when his remarks were posted and released accordingly, it pissed a whole lot of people off. There's some feedback that basically reiterates the sentiment that your slanderous remarks about my bad habits. Well, let me read you, like, Ace Frehley had addressed this over the years, stating that your slanderous remarks about my bad habits over the years have cost me millions of dollars. Now that I'm over 12 years sober, you're still saying I can't be trusted to play a whole night show. Well, that's exactly what I've been doing for the last 12 years with different configurations. And I can confirm that. I definitely can confirm that to Ace's ability to play a show, because I saw him just a couple of years ago, and he was fine. He was perfect. Put on a kick-ass show. He opened up for Alice Cooper, for crying out loud. And Alice Cooper does not give an opening act just to anybody. So he wouldn't have given it to Ace Frehley had Ace Frehley been having issues of any kind whatsoever. So Gene Simmons pissed a lot of people off, as Gene Simmons can do. Gene Simmons has since on X, I don't know about the other social media platforms, but on X he has since issued an apology, an outright apology. He posted on X, quote, "On reflection, I was wrong for using the words I used. I humbly apologize. My hand to God, I didn't intend to hurt Ace Frehley or his legacy, but upon reading my words, I see how it hurt everyone. Again, I apologize. I've always loved Ace, always." And my take on that was kind of reiterated the sentiment of a majority really of the feedback and comments on his apology, and that was simply that, Gene, you didn't hurt Ace's legacy by your comments at all. Quite frankly, what you did was you did damage to your own, which you usually do when you open up your mouth. Excuse me. Gene has got a nasty reputation. Sorry, I had to take a sip of ice cold Corona. He's got a nasty reputation, Gene Simmons does, of opening his mouth and speaking before he actually thinks about what he's going to say. And while he was in Washington, he testified in front of Congress. He did a bunch of interviews, and he exemplified that point that I just made. He talks too much, and he doesn't think about what he's going to say before he talks. I don't know what he was doing testifying in front of Congress, quite frankly. Anyways, I just don't get it. But why not say anything, Gene? You know, why not say nothing rather, except supporting Ace and his legacy for arena rock, his iconic guitar riffs, and his contribution to Kiss at this time especially. Why not just limit your comments to that and not say anything else? But I guess that's not in your DNA, as you've proven over and over and over again. Okay, so moving right along. Arch Enemy, which you may or may not know of the band. They are gods in the European touring aspect of things. Over a decade together, melodic death metal masters Arch Enemy have parted ways with vocalist Elisa White Glutz, who's one of my favorites. Oh, I just love. They came to Charlotte earlier this year. Both parties have issued statements about the separation. This was released to the public early on a Sunday morning, I think in November. And it kind of sent shockwaves through the metal music community, at least in my neck of the woods here on Metalhead Michael. This breakup news comes on the tail end, kind of a bookend of sorts, of a very successful, or so it appeared successful, U.S. tour that rolled through the Charlotte area, like I just mentioned, area recently. And that's, of course, in my neck of the woods. I'm here in Raleigh. They usually tour in Europe, like I did mention again. They are European metal masters of sorts in the music world, as most metalcore type of bands in that genre, if you will, are. They usually go over to Europe and make quite a name for themselves. Now, frankly, I believe this is the end of Arch Enemy. I just have this belief that once a band surpasses a certain time period, like 12 years, for instance, case in point with Arch Enemy and White Glutz, you just become solidified with a signature sound, and sometimes often this comes in the form of your lead singer. This is a fact in the metal world. AC/DC, Metallica, Ryan James Dio. Case in point, Motley Crue, Anthrax, Iron Maiden, Judas Priest. Those are some examples that have all tried new lead singers before following that departure of a signature sound lead singer, only to go back to their roots and reconcile with the original lead singer. I think that's a significant variable and a significant point to make. Having said that, Elisa White-Glutz is not the original singer of Arch Enemy. I think that's also just as valid of a point. And this scenario has been played out with success with bands like Killswitch Engage and even Linkin Park, to play the devil's advocate kind of back and forth with those points. Dare I say, for a more recent example, Linkin Park, right? They have this new Emily, the female lead singer, who took over Chester Bennington's role. So I believe White-Glutz is a hell of a free agent right now, and anyone will very soon and happily pick her up. And often this has already been in the works prior to the breakup announcements, like the one we were all shocked with that Sunday in November when they made this announcement. We'll have to wait and see what both sides of the aisle are going to do next. And I know, along with a ton of fans in the metal world, that, especially here at Metalhead Michael, will be paying very close attention to how this will all play out on both sides of the coin. I'm interested in what you all think. Hit me up on Metalhead Michael on my social media platforms, and let's follow this development together for sure. I am going to tell you right now that I would love to see Elisa White-Glutz hook up with Butcher Babies. I truly would. But good luck to both Elisa White-Glutz and what will become Arch Enemy. The original lead singer of Arch Enemy, I added this to my notes as a last-second follow-up. Johan Lina has issued a statement indicating that he has no intention whatsoever of returning to the band. So that is interesting. Good variable, good point as well. Again, we'll be watching this outcome from both sides of the aisle, rather. Excuse me, I double spoke there. Watching this very, very closely as this plays out. That was some very significant metal music news for sure with Arch Enemy. Concerts. Want to talk about concerts. Raleigh versus Charlotte. This is my neck of the woods in the Carolinas. North Carolina in particular. I touched base on this a little on my last podcast, but it seems that Charlotte and booking all of the shows for this year, Charlotte's getting all of them, all of the good ones. Now, I changed this a little bit with some of my notes back here in the back end of things, but I'll get to that later. But it's still on the overall aspect of things, it seems that Charlotte is getting all of the booking for good shows this year. For someone like me, in phase of sorts of not doing a whole lot of traveling right now in my immediate region, that hits me hard. You know, I'm always looking for shows in my immediate area. I'm in a good location to get to some of the good nightclubs and the arenas in Raleigh, and it seems that Raleigh and Charlotte, ever since the festivals kind of came and went, and let's face it, the festivals are not reaching the Carolinas anymore. They're just not. They ever since the festivals kind of came and went, Raleigh and Charlotte have switched back and forth between major concert and show bookings. Last year, Raleigh had Disturbed, they had Linkin Park, they had Shinedown, they had Ghost, they had 9 Inch Nails. These were killer shows, all of them right here in my backyard, in addition to all of the bands that played at the local venues like the Ritz. Okay, some of these my phone keeps going off. I'm going to have to turn that bastard off, man. I don't know what's going on with that. But anywho, killer shows right here in my backyard in addition to the local venues. The Ritz especially has some really good shows. I have a stack of ticket stubs from last year where Raleigh got all the good shows, right? So my point being that this is the time of year where bands begin to release their tour dates for next year, 2026, of course, and this is the time this time last year, all of the bands I had seen put their dates out. It's very important for metalheads like me and you. We follow this shit very closely. It's like an addiction for us, watching the tour dates and locations like a freaking hawk, okay? So let's see here in my notes. I can tell you for sure right now that Charlotte is getting most, if not all, of the good shows so far. And I was getting a little worried because time was running out, really, or so it seemed. There were some last minute booking dates that I might change my optimistic view of the whole thing. But it seems that time was really running out, or so it seemed, for the tour dates released for 2026. I can tell you 2 significant events and developments that were released specifically for the Raleigh area and venues were Guns N' Roses for the Carter Finley Stadium. That's Arena Rock, baby. That's what I'm talking about. More on that location later. That's in July of 2026. And Lamb of God, which I'm really stoked about, playing with Kubla Khan and Fit for an Autopsy on April 16th. I'll have more on that show later. Looking for like the first show of the year, possibly for me so far. Usually around March of April. I may change my plans on that with some of the new releases that have come out. Get your tickets fast for the Lamb of God and Kubla Khan and Fit for an Autopsy show, because those seats will go quickly, and the Red Hat Amphitheater does not have many seats to offer. So now the Raleigh show at Carter Finley, let me tell you that I will not be going to that show, that Guns N' Roses show. I'm not so far into GNR now in 2025 that I'm going to make that show. I'm going to throw down some money and make that. I'm just not going to do that. Traffic is also an issue at Carter Finley with stadium events like this, especially at Carter Finley, and especially in the Raleigh area. Every time they try and do this at Carter Finley Stadium, it turns out to be an organizational and a traffic nightmare. They tried with Beyonce, with U2, with multiple other examples. Those are just 2 I can think of off the top of my head. And I could tell you that this Guns N' Roses show is going to be a disaster as far as traffic is concerned. And I'm not that far into GNR, like I said, in 2025, 2026, that I'm going to throw down some money and sit in traffic for 3 hours. I'm just not willing to do that. Now, maybe in 1988, I would have been. 1988, 1992. These are years I saw Guns N' Roses. Yes, I am that old. And I would have definitely have done it back then, but I'm not going to do it in today's day and age by any means. Guns N' Roses, like I said, they recently launched a massive world tour when they came off of their first European leg and swing into the United States. This is the Raleigh show is their very first stop in the United States. So that is very exciting for the area, for sure. Not taking anything away from that or making light of that. This will be in July 23rd at Carter Finley Stadium, home of the NC State Wolfpack and my alma mater. Go Pack, for sure. Again, traffic will be a nightmare. Beware if you are buying tickets and going to this show, especially if you're from out of town. And I'm just telling you, if Metalhead Michael is reaching you from out of town in the Raleigh area, just be cautious and leery of buying a ticket for this show and making the trip up here, because I know people who sat in line for 3 and 4 hours at a time trying to get in concerts in Carter Finley, and they just got so fed up and frustrated that they turned around and went home. Every time they try and do this, it's a nightmare, especially if there's going to be something going on at the Lenova Center that night or at the fairgrounds. Again, I will not be going to this show. I'm just gonna, for the price of that show, I can blow that kind of money and go to 3 or 4 different local shows at the Ritz, for instance, and that's what I'm gonna do for sure. Megadeth has announced more tour dates coming off of their European tour for their final show. They are going to tour at the beginning of the year with Anthrax and Exodus. Now, this is very exciting, but this is concerning me because, as I stated before, most bands release their 2026 tour dates by now. So Megadeth has only released Canadian dates coming off of the European tour for 2026. This takes them out to March of next year. So I'm hoping my main concern there, my basic point of mentioning this is I want to see some headlining dates of Megadeth, not just supporting dates, or headlining dates just in Canada. I want to see this tour release some U.S. dates. I'm sure that they're going to. I'm sure it's going to be a massive world tour, but I'm just a little concerned being right now December 13th and they haven't released anything as far as U.S. tour dates go, because this is going to be a hot ticket and one I'm not going to miss for sure. I already have Megadeth's final studio album on back order. A pre-order and back order is, fell into both of those categories because it's going to be a hot item and a hot ticket to get for sure. I'm hoping that they come either to the Lenovo Center or to Walnut Creek here in the Raleigh area. One of those two venues, I'll take either one of them. It doesn't matter, but this is a show I'm definitely not going to miss. And I'm desperately looking for U.S. tour release dates. I have that in my notes, folks. If you have U.S. tour release dates for Megadeth, then send them to me. Let me know, because I'm not seeing them anywhere. Again, they're going to tour with Anthrax and Exodus in Canada at the beginning of the year, from February to March, and thereafter, I'm not seeing anything at all, and I'm getting a little worried. Had to hook myself up with another ice cold Corona right there. Took a little trip to the refrigerator. We'll edit that in. We'll cut, edit, all that good stuff. Anyways, David Coverdale, as we all know from Whitesnake, has retired, folks. He has announced his retirement on YouTube and on the Whitesnake YouTube channel. After about 5 years of tinkering around with the idea, Whitesnake's lead vocalist David Coverdale officially announced his retirement in a recorded 6-minute video post. Now let me tell you, let me read the statement from him. It said, in the video statement, it said, "Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, brothers and sisters of the Snake, special announcement for you. After 50 years plus," which is an accurate statement, "of an incredible journey with you, with Deep Purple, Whitesnake, Jimmy Page, etc. the last few years, it's really been evident to me that it's time to hang up my rock and roll platform shoes and my skin-tight jeans. As you can see, we've taken care of the lion's wig," and he was making reference to his hair, which has turned gray, "but it's time for me to call it a day." He went on to say, "I love you dearly. I thank everyone who's assisted and supported me on this incredible journey, but it's really time for me to just enjoy my retirement, and I hope you can appreciate that." And one of the reasons why I'm mentioning this is, number one, I'm a Whitesnake fan, big, huge fan. Even though I'm a metalhead, I'm a huge fan, and a result of the generation of the big metal era. So I love that whole era. I love what became of it. I love that kind of music. Call me crazy if you will, but I still love metalcore and metal music and thrash metal from the San Francisco Bay Area for sure. That's most of my, and anybody who knows me knows I'm a Ronnie James Dio freak, fanatic. That's most of what makes up my DNA. But I'm also a big hair 80s metal fan, and I can appreciate what David Coverdale is doing. And I mention this because I'm a big hair 80 metals fan. But I also think what he did was perfect. He retired perfectly. I can only hope that there are many who will follow his lead, right? He not only recognizes his place in the hard rock music scene and world, but he also realizes and recognizes very sincerely when it's time to step down and let others take over, right? And not come back on some, reunion tour. He's old. He realizes it. He's carved out his place in music. He realizes that. And this is quite frankly the way it's supposed to be done before you become a spectacle of sorts. Because before you sign some contract and say you're retiring forever and only to come back years later, before you do half a dozen different reunion tours, Kiss, I'm talking to you, and just become a spectacle of sorts. I'm not saying Kiss is a spectacle, but the routine gets old, right? Slayer has even started playing together again, right? And they swore up and down they would never start doing that. So the whole point of it becomes a spectacle, is what I should have said. And I don't think that's going to happen with David Coverdale. When you see, and I encourage everybody to go to YouTube and check out his retirement statement. It's very sincere, and I don't think we'll see him performing again. He just wants to go and enjoy his retirement, and he should. And I think that the deaths of like Ozzy Osbourne, if you will, and the Mastodon guitarist, you know, and others along that era, you know, Ace Frehley, I think he realizes that nobody's immortal. You know, you can't live forever. And when it's time to step down, go enjoy your life. By all means. Thank you, David, for doing it the right way. And peace to you in your retirement. Good for Coverdale. Good for David Coverdale. New music. Talking new music. Avenged Sevenfold's new song is out. It's called Magic, and I put a big frowny face emoji next to my notes. It's available everywhere. I checked it out on YouTube. It's definitely available on YouTube, and I got to tell you, folks, I'm just not feeling it just yet. As with most of the Avenged Sevenfold stuff that has come out since Hail to the King, I'm just not getting an initial vibe on it. I'm really not. Hang on, I got to take another sip of beer. Refreshing. Metalhead Michael, myself, and my podcast have been very critical of Avenged Sevenfold since Hail to the King. That is no big secret. If you know me, you know that that's the case. I just personally feel as though they've never been able to follow up with their 2013 album when they basically took over the metal and hard rock world, and I do mean that sincerely. It's been a long time since I can say that I've seen a band tour on an album 3 times in 1 year. And in 2014, I saw Avenged Sevenfold 3 times support Hail to the King, because it's just that kick-ass of an album. The closest that Avenged Sevenfold has come, in my opinion, and let me know if you agree with this or not, is an album, surprisingly enough, called Rough Cuts, which they released during COVID. Ironically, I don't believe any of the songs were ever meant to be released, but Rough Cuts was an incredible album. I loved Rough Cuts. The Stage and Life is But a Dream, in my opinion, are not their best stuff. They're just not. And I feel, and even in concert, I saw both of those. I saw Avenged Sevenfold support The Stage and Life is But a Dream, and I just wasn't taken aback by I was with their whole stage setup and concert performance on Hail to the King. I feel like so far, after listening to the one song out now, this is going to be much of the same. It really is. And I think that they've changed their target to a much younger audience. That's just my opinion. The song Magic, which is their new song out, has distorted vocals and overuse of keyboards, in my opinion, that don't sound good. I know what most people say, and I've been criticized for holding to the legacy of Hail to the King, but it's such a good album, and it just marks a peak, if you will, in their music. It's not just Hail to the King; it's everything that came before too. City of Evil, Nightmare, all of those are so much better albums than The Stage and Life is But a Dream. And as far as I'm concerned, this new song that's out, even the game Deathbat that followed Hail to the King, it's all just amazing stuff. I mean, you don't see too often bands put out a computer video game that follows one of their albums. Navy just beat Army 17-16, by the way. And there's a lot of controversy on the field right now. I'm just watching this in the background in my high-tech studio. Anyways, get back to Avenged Sevenfold. To me, and I know this will get my ass kicked all over this, all over again for this, they're moving away from the rawness of the music and the targeting of a whole different crowd. And again, for me, Hail to the King from 2013 marks a point where they started to do that. And I just don't see them getting back to that. So again, I'm asking, where's the next Hail to the King sound? Please, please bring me the next Hail to the King sound. And with this new song so far, it's just the one song. I'll give you that. I haven't listened to the whole album. The whole album hasn't been released yet. But so far, I'm just not feeling the magic, quote unquote, pun intended, of the vibe, the sound, the vocals, the music just yet. I will admit that it's not fair to judge a whole album on one song. So I, like everyone else, will just have to wait until the whole album is released. And hopefully we will see a tour in the Raleigh area in 2026. Although I've expressed my concerns earlier in the podcast about the dates and the bands that have been released thus far. I will tell you that I will throw down some money to go see Avenged Sevenfold. If not for anything else, just to play some 2013 Hail to the King songs. For sure. And to hang out with my Deathbat metalheads. Hopefully we'll see a tour in 2026. It was early in 2024 when they played the Lenova area just down the road that I went to. I finished by saying this, of the forthcoming album, I hope it gets better. That's what I put in my notes. I hope it gets better, for sure. Let's do a concert review, folks. Fit for a King. Check this out. Fit for a King. Make Them Suffer. Spite. 156 Silence. I put a huge devil's horns and smiley face emoji next to my notes. This show was incredible. 2 horns on both of my arms raised for this show, for sure, to make my review. The only thing I didn't like about the show had nothing to do with music, really. It was that I believe that they oversold the show, and the place was just jam-packed with people. I mean, from one end to the venue, up and down, left and right, you could not move an inch, folks. They clearly oversold the show, and that was, you could tell that they had done that based on the people that were waiting outside. I had to enjoy the beginning of the show from the back and do a traditional inch my way forward technique in between circle and mosh pits, respectively, and in between people jockeying around, which I didn't mind. You know, that's part of the fun. I eventually, during each set, got to a position where I was able to get some good video of the bands, which I've uploaded to my YouTube channels. Metalhead Michael has its own YouTube channel. Michael Clegg, which is my real name, has a YouTube channel under that name. That's the traditional black and white Godsmack logo. If you search YouTube and you see that, both of those, all of those videos are uploaded and updated, as well as to my X social media platform and my Blue Sky social media platform. I uploaded all of that video from those shows to those platforms. Anyways, getting back to the review, there was so much great energy, and I honestly didn't realize I made a few mistakes, right? So I thought to myself, this is metalcore. Metalcore is not that big in the Raleigh area. There's not going to be that whole lot of people there. It's Thanksgiving weekend, end of the year kind of a thing. Probably won't get another show. There's not going to be a whole lot of people there, is what my mindset was. Boy, was I wrong. I'm telling you, I was wrong on all. I walked around the corner after parking, and I thought to myself, good God almighty, there's a ton of freaking people here. This is great. This is amazing. So I spent like 40 minutes in the parking lot in 30-degree weather, hanging out with metalheads, metalcore, younger crowd people, which I love, and getting feedback and getting schooled on some of these bands, especially Fit for a King, which I wasn't savvy on. I had heard of them, of course, but Spite, Make Them Suffer, 156 Silence. All these kids were telling me all about this. So there was a lot of great energy. I didn't realize there was such a metalcore fans in the area, and I was stoked, completely stoked. Like, you cannot believe to see that kind of representation. That's the kind of thing that I love at concerts, and that, quite frankly, is why I go to these shows. One of the many variables of or factors why I go to these shows, to see that kind of representation. I thought I'll just go see a kick-ass show. There won't be a huge crowd. It'll be my little secret of sorts. Again, boy, was I wrong. The line to get in was wrapped around the venue all the way to the back parking lot. So I took advantage of this awesome quality time with my fellow metalheads and used it as an opportunity to get schooled, like I said before, on some of the bands directly from the younger crowd that was there, for sure. I love to talk to people in line like that, get to know them. In all the shows I go to, especially if it's a group of bands playing that I'm not familiar with. In other words, hanging out with other metalheads, and then in this case, trying to stay warm for sure. It was a great experience. Anywho, once we got inside, let me just tell you the energy. Again, the energy was amazing. 156 Silence came on and set the stage. Great warm-up band. Great opening act. Really enjoyed them. Spite. Check out the band called Spite. They were next. They were from Michigan, I believe. Boy, this band had some serious energy to them. I'm going to tell you right now. The lead singer would go off on some serious headbanging during songs. And I seriously enjoyed his energy. It gave off really cool vibes to the crowd. Gave off, it was just a special treat. There was a kid in front of me who was a serious Spite fan who I spent some time with in between shows, and during Spite, he schooled me on the band and the albums and everything else. It was a great treat to hang out with these metal core heads, for sure. This is metalcore. You know, there's a difference between metalheads, the San Francisco thrash Bay Area sound, and metalcore, as well as death metal, black metal, goth metal, new metal. This is metalcore. So look it up, check it out. Check out Fit for a King, Make Them Suffer, 156 Silence, Spite. Those are good metalcore bands. Check them out. Do some research on it. Make Them Suffer was next after 156 Silence. They're from Pittsburgh. All kinds of sections of the country represented in this show. That's what I love to see the most, really. See metalhead and metalcore bands from all sections of the United States. This was one of those shows for sure. Make Them Suffer had this throwdown keyboardist on this side, on the side of the stage, who was awesome, as was the whole band. It's rarely that you see a keyboard in a metalcore band, but she was throwing down, man. And I could say about the headlining act, Fit for a King, this guy on vocals could hold some incredible guttural notes from what seemed like forever. Again, if you want to get an idea of this, check out my YouTube, X, Blue Sky videos that I uploaded. There's some circle pit action where in the background he's holding this note for like 20 seconds long. Super cool, just amazing to watch. Really had the whole place slamming from one end to the other. I was able to get some, like I said, some video of Make Them Suffer, Fit for a King, as well as some sick circle pit action too. I wasn't able to get anything prior to that just because there wasn't any room, quite frankly, for me to even whip out my camera. We were crammed in like sardines. I struggled to find some bearing and some good spots close to the stage before I was able to wiggle my way up. That's how crowded the place was. But I got some good footage nonetheless. Check it out on my YouTube channels and all my other social media platforms if you get a chance. Fit for a King. I hope to see this type of metalcore band, this type of vibe, and these types of crowds all once again in the Raleigh area, for sure. Especially the crowds. I was so pleased with the metalcore representation in the Raleigh area that was the biggest takeaway I got. It was a great way to kick off a holiday weekend, and I'm grateful to have added this ticket stub to my collection, for sure. Once again, 2 horns raised for this show, Fit for a King. If you're not in the Raleigh area and you're on the subsequent aspect as far as cities go of this tour, I highly suggest that you check it out. For sure, you will not be disappointed. Testament. Let's talk about Big Chuck Billy and Testament. Parabellum is their new album. This is Loudwire's album of the year. And I couldn't agree with this more. quite frankly. I recently downloaded this album. It's kick-ass. It's worthy of the award for Album of the Year recognition. I hope to see them on 2026. As I saw them on tour with Creator and Possessed on the Clash of the Titans tour. I can't remember if that was 2023 or 2024. I think it was 2023. 2020. It might have been 2024. It was my last crowd surf. I'm really getting too old for this. But it is definitely a power album. Did you know also that Testament has their own coffee brand? It's called Brazen. It's $25 a bag, which is kind of pricey in today's day and age. But I might throw down some money and check that out for sure. They have a new drummer. His last name is Dovas. He follows in the footsteps of some of metal's most acclaimed drummers, including Haglund Lombardo and Paul Bostaph, both from Slayer. Those are big shoes to fill, but this is his first album with Testament. And I can tell you from the opening bumper music, which was from that album, he has filled those shoes adequately, for sure. They have a Summer European festival dates on the books heading into 2026, where the Talking Heads say that more dates will be revealed soon as Parabellum continues to be celebrated worldwide. Again, I hope to God they come to the Raleigh area and don't go to Charlotte. If they're going to go to Charlotte, at least come to Raleigh as well, please. By all means, that is, along with Megadeth, that is a ticket stub and a concert I will not miss, without any question. The biggest rock and metal stories of 2025. These are some, again, Loudwire put this out. These are some worthy headlines. Let's check them out. The Foo Fighters, after searching very endlessly for a replacement for Taylor Hawkins and coming up with Josh Freese, they fired Freese. I can't remember when it was, but they fired him shortly thereafter. He did not have a long gig at all. And basically he swapped positions with another drummer, that of Nine Inch Nails. Josh joined the group as their touring drummer in 2023. Like I said, died. Taylor Hawkins. The Foo Fighters played their first show with the new drummer. Ian Rubin is their new drummer. Several months later, he left Nine Inch Nails to join them. Coincidentally, like I said, Freese returned to Nine Inch Nails in Rubin's place. They basically swapped bands, so they didn't lose any work. So I guess that's a plus of sorts. Black Sabbath and Ozzy Osbourne played their Back to the Beginning farewell concert in July. Black Sabbath and Ozzy Osbourne announced that they may have been the biggest rock and metal concert of the 21st century. Back in February of this year, it was meant to serve as a goodbye to fans from Sabbath and from Ozzy as a solo artist. I watched this show live with my former concert partner, for sure. This included Metallica, Guns N' Roses, Slayer, Tool, Pantera, Gojira, Alice in Chains, Lamb of God, Hellstorm, Anthrax, Rival Sons, Mastodon. There was a lot of different bands. It was a really good kick-ass show. And let me tell you, if you downloaded the link and watched this on TV, excuse me, taking a sip of beer, absolutely, that counts as going to a concert as far as I'm concerned. I made a commemorative ticket stub and gave it to my former concert partner and myself, and that counts. It was a really, really good show. It was one of the best of 2025, for sure. Ozzy sang 5 songs of his own, as we all know, who watched it, backed by Zach Wild, Mike Inez, Adam Wakeman, and Tommy Clufetis. He sang another 4 tracks, closed the night out with his Sabbath bandmates. It was the first show all original members played together in nearly 20 years. And of course, not even a month later, weeks later, he passed away, unfortunately. Which brings me to my third biggest story of 2025 as far as the Metalhead Michael in the hard rock world is concerned. Ozzy Osbourne died, and the whole world felt it. Just a few weeks after Back to the Beginning concert in Birmingham, Ozzy Osbourne's family shared a statement that he had died at his home at the age of 76. He dealt with numerous health issues, leading up to the concerts, including Parkinson's disease, but it took the world by surprise that he died of a heart attack, especially after the performance he put on earlier in the month. Tributes poured in from all over the world, not just from musicians, but all areas of pop culture, which proved that his influence was massive and his departure was even bigger. I was very taken aback and emotional about the fact that so many people from so many facets and aspects and points of life came out in support of Ozzy Osbourne after he died. I watched his death, breaking news live on CNN the day that it happened. Of course, I have CNN and other media outlets on my TV at all times, but his family said, don't be mad, don't be sad, be happy for all of us, come celebrate with these. Oh, I'm sorry, that's not that wasn't for Ozzy Osbourne. I'm sorry, that was something else. Anyways, Ozzy Osbourne died. Megadeth announced their final album and farewell tour. Again, top stories of 2025. It wasn't a surprise when Megadeth announced the new album, and Dave Mustaine had been teasing new material from the group for a while. What nobody saw coming was it was going to be their last studio album. We started a musical style. Mustaine said we started a revolution. We changed the guitar world and how it was played, and we changed the world the bands have played and have influenced the world. I love you all. Thanks for everything. The album entitled Megadeth is due out next month in 2026 in January. Only a few weeks away. There is a revamped version of Metallica's Ride the Lightning on the album. Mustaine was quoted as saying he wanted to include one of Metallica's songs he co-wrote on Megadeth's last album as a way to bring his career full circle. And like I said before, we are looking for American dates. We are looking for American dates right now. Dave, come on, please release those dates. Come play in Raleigh. Don't just go to Charlotte. Continuing with top 2025 Metalhead Michael events, headlines. Brent Hines died months after splitting with Mastodon. He was best known for being one of the founding members of Mastodon. He died in a motorcycle crash in Atlanta on August 20th, not too long ago. The tragedy prompted tributes from countless rock and metal musicians, including the remaining members of Mastodon. I remember when this happened. This was the weekend of the Shinedown and opening bands for Shinedown. That night actually is when it happened, and I remember being in the Shinedown concert and when this occurred, and they took a moment of silence to remember Brent Hines as one of the inspirational sounds of new metal and sounds of Mastodon, and he will surely be missed for his contributions to the heavy metal world. Rush announced a 2026 reunion with their new drummer. Still looking for dates for that. I might actually go see that. It's been over 10 years, since Alex Lifeson and Geddy Lee performed the music of Rush along with their fallen bandmate and friend Neil Peart. So they have a new drummer now. It is a woman, and like I said, they're in the phase of practicing for the tour. We're getting their stage set up all squared away, and we're looking for U.S. tours along with Megadeth, for sure. That is some money I will be willing to throw down to see Rush again. I saw them do Moving Pictures in its entirety way back when. I can't even tell you when. It was probably when they were referencing over 10 years ago. But I have seen Neil Peart in concert along with Rush, for sure. Moving right along in October, Kiss legend Ace Frehley died, as we all know. TMZ reported in mid-October that Kiss legend Ace Frehley was in the hospital on life support after suffering a bad fall. He actually had fallen a first time a few weeks prior, but this particular fall was more severe and resulted in a brain bleed, as I went over previously. And a few hours later, the guitarist's family confirmed that he had died at the age of 74. His family said he was an essential and irreplaceable rock soldier during some of the most formative foundational chapters of the band and its history. He is and always will be a part of the Kiss legacy. And last but not least, I have in my notes that Limp Bizkit's Sam Rivers died, who was the original and founding member, bassist for Limp Bizkit. Just a few days after the death of Frehley was when this occurred. The rock and metal community were once again stunned by the loss of Limp Bizkit co-founding bassist Sam Rivers. Sam Rivers wasn't just our bass player, he was pure magic. Some of the quotes: the pulse beneath every song, the calm and the chaos, the soul and the sound. The cause of death has not been released to the public as of yet. I was kind of keeping an eye on that because, as I understood, he was relatively young. He was too young to die, that's for sure, but there's just no telling, folks. So maybe some more details of that death will be released. Did I miss anything as far as 2025 biggest rock and metal stories of 2025? Did I or Loudwire miss anything? That was kind of a mishmash of the two events, headliners, if you will. And what do you think 2026 will bring? I'm interested to know. Hit me up, by all means. Upcoming and booked shows locally for the Raleigh area. Check this out. I'll get this real quick because I want to get all of this in for an hour. Just under an hour, if you will. Which is what I like my podcast to be. Upcoming and book shows locally for the Raleigh area. Nothing more. The Ritz, Friday, January 16th, 2026. 3 different bands playing with them. Can't beat the bang for the buck. Get tickets now. That's Nothing More, January 16th. Skillet, March 19th. The Ritz. No opening bands announced. I'm sure there will be opening bands. There usually is when Skillet plays the Ritz. They have played there many times before. Skillet's one of my favorite live bands. You can criticize me if you want to, but I love Skillet. Love that Christian rock band. The Devil Wears Prada, April 5th, the Ritz. Again, 3 different bands along with The Devil Wears Prada on this bill. Can't beat these kind of shows. Can't beat the bang for the buck. Get your tickets soon. These will sell out fast. Based on my experience with the last show, Fit for a King, The Devil Wears Prada is going to be jam-packed. And finally, confirmed and announced and booked is Lamb of God with Kubla Khan and Fit for an Autopsy. And let me just tell you that if there's one show that I'm really stoked about that's been finalized and booked, it's this one. Oh my God, the Red Hat Amphitheater, April 16th, 2026. I'm going to tell you again for Red Hat, don't get aisle seats. Get like maybe 2 or 3 seats in. But do not get aisle seats at Red Hat. You will regret it for the Red Hat Amphitheater. Get tickets fast. This will be a spring throwdown for sure. That's just what's booked so far. Hopefully there will be more to come. I still have faith for 2026, even though Charlotte's getting all the good shows so far. For sure. Absolutely. All right, folks. Let's get to this podcast trivia question. Check this out. Hit me up with the answer. I know some of y'all know this. We're going to spin off of the Pantera thing again. Okay, check this out. Here's the setup. In May of 2003, Phil Anselmo pretty much laid Pantera to rest by announcing that there are no plans for Pantera to play together, quote, for quite some time, and that he would be putting all of his creative efforts into a new band. Which band was this? Again, after Phil Anselmo left Pantera in 2003, which band did he form? That is the trivia question for this week. And that's all I've got for this Metalhead Michael December 13th, 2025 episode. Thanks you so much for listening. Here's Ronnie James Dio to send us out, baby. Peace out. I love you guys. Oh, yeah.